the loudness of the voice.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, if you don't understand the accent, I can't help it, so just deal with it basically. I'll try and be as clear as I can. My first thoughts about today was, you must probably going to teach me what I need to know about PCD. Living and breathing a condition is very different to me coming up to talk about all the research that I found. So I'm hoping that today you can take at least one or two things away that you can use at home or that will be helpful for you. And I've tried to keep it very much research-based today. I've got all the papers that I've referred to, and also I've made a little table here with my cards and a little page in case there's things that you'd like to ask me or any research you'd like me to forward on. I'm quite happy to do that. So if you just try and write clearly, give me your name, email address and phone number, I'm quite happy to do that. Sorry that I have to rush off. I have to be in herbal clinic this afternoon. So, but I will try and leave 5-10 minutes at the end if you want to ask me anything that you need to know. Right, so as you know, Angela MacRitchie, I just thought I'd tell you what I've done with myself so that you're not worried that Katie's pulled me off the side of the street to come and do the talk today. I've got my own journey to health, and this is why I'm doing what I do today. Mine's very different. I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis at quite a young age, quite struggled with it, and in the end I didn't want to take any medications, so I went down the complete natural route, and I was on crutches and bedridden for quite a long time. And now I've done about 3 triathlons now to the rheumatologist discussed, and don't take any medication. I still have flare-ups, but I kind of just keep it under wrap with food and supplements and a lot of herbs. And I study with CNM, which is the College of Naturopathic Medicine. I went back to study in the good old age of the 40s, decided to do it then. And I did naturopathic nutrition with CNM for 4 years. I did herbal medicine for 4 and naturopathy for 2 years. But I was very silly and combined all the courses and did it in 5 years like a mad woman. And I must say that I'm very much of a naturopathic orientation, which means I work very holistically. So today I'm being very research-based, but there's a lot of old naturopathic things that we've learned, and a lot of things that I find that I've discovered in my clinical practice that may not have all the research behind it. So I'm a little bit 1 foot on each side of the fence. So I believe in research, but also believe there's some allopathic medicine that's maybe not always backed up by the double-blind placebo studies that we have out there. So I'm going to do a bit of a mix today. And now I work all over the place. As Katie will tell you, I have a clinic in Newton Stewart. I work very much closely with Napier's. I don't know if you've heard of them. They're herbalists. I work out of Glasgow, and I work for Bathgate as their herbalist. So I mix my clinic very much. I do herbs, nutrition, and I'm very much into complementary therapies like massage, relaxation techniques. I use that all in the clinic as a whole thing, because we're not just about our chemical structure. There's a lot more that goes on, and a lot more we don't know about how the body functions. So I want to incorporate all of it. So just a little bit of how I operate. So I thought long and hard about what am I going to talk about today, because it's so broad and I could go down so many different avenues. So this is what I've picked for today, and I'm probably not going to cover everything you want to hear. So if I've missed the boat, just tell me, and you can email me or talk to me about it, and I'm happy to answer any questions. So I've decided to go through to the gut and find ways that we can support the immune system. That's the angle I'm going to go in with today, and we're going to do that. I'm going to discuss at length probiotics. We're going to talk a little bit about vitamins, A, C, D, and zinc today, and I'll bring them back to the gut, how they support the gut and the immune system, and I've got a lot of studies to go through with you on that. We're going to talk a little bit about phytonutrients, antioxidants, big words, but they're very good for the body. Foods to help to reduce mucus, because I know that's a problem with the cilia in the body, and I have some very non-normal techniques which I think I will share for the adults, but maybe not for the children, to help with the mucus build-up. And we're not going to have much time to talk about herbs, but I'm just going to throw one or two things in there, and some lovely remedies that Napier's actually make. I thought I would add that in, that I've found in the clinic is very helpful. Okay, so on the probiotic side, I know that the main, and I might have this wrong, so just correct me if I've missed the boat, but I know that the main antibiotics that we take with PCD is erythromycin, cephalexin, and the co-amoxiclav. And the co-amoxiclav is made from amoxicillin and clavulanic acid. So those are the, as far as I know, if I'm wrong, please correct me, but those are the main ones that I know that have been taken. So what I did is I've got this very fancy app that you can put all the antibiotics into it, and it tells us what these antibiotics deplete in the body. Not the obvious thing of what it's doing to the gut bacteria, which we're going to talk about now, but also it's depleting an important vitamin called vitamin K. That's the main thing it depletes out of the body. Sorry, I'm not good with the speakerphone. And also amoxicillin also depletes potassium. So we've got a twofold thing going on here, that basically we've got the gut bacteria being annihilated, and then you've got vitamin K being depleted. So does anyone know what vitamin K does in the body? I'm going to engage you today, so you need to talk to me. Does anyone know what vitamin K does? Yeah, good one. So it's involved in blood clotting in the body. So I found out there's some foods that contain vitamin K, because I always go back to food first. So I'm going to mention this about 100 times today, and they found in green leafy vegetables, which I'm going to say repeatedly, so until you're sick of hearing it. So things like spinach, kale, Swiss chard, mustard greens, and it's in vegetables like Brussels sprouts. You either love them or hate them. It's in broccoli. Broccoli is king for everything. You'll see I mention broccoli repeatedly. The green trees, the children and the adults have to start to love them. And it's found in fish, liver, meat, and eggs. So just a little bit about that. Perhaps you can up those foods in your diet, to counteract what the antibiotics are doing. So the next thing is why do we need friendly bacteria? Does anyone know? Right, so a little bit of statistics is that in our guts we have 100 trillion bacteria that live in your guts, and this is this buzzword that everyone's scientists are using at the moment, and it makes up our gut microbiome. I'm sure you've heard everyone talking about that. And it's now considered to be an organ in its own right. It's vitally important, and I don't think we've even touched the surface with research on what the gut microbiome actually does in the body. So the gut bacteria can influence pretty much every aspect of our health. It's vitally important that we look after it. So it's involved in bowel function, immune system, infection risk, our skin health, allergies, blood sugar balancing, mental health, our mood, and this is what we know for sure. And we need to preserve and look after it, because it's very delicate balance inside the body. And what does the gut microbiome do for us? It helps us absorb our nutrients from our food. It fights infections, which with PCD is really, really important. We need the immune system to be strong. It makes some essential vitamins. It protects your health. It protects you against toxins. And it regulates the health effect of our diet and our lifestyle choices. So does everybody know how important the gut microbiome is? I mean, have you heard people talking about it, that it's vital we keep it healthy and strong? Yeah. Okay. So the effect of the long-term antibiotic use is that the antibiotics are linked to the deprivation of gut bacteria, because antibiotics, their function and their aim is basically they're killing by nature, they're bacteria killing. And it's speculated that repetitive use of antibiotics deprives people of a rich gut bacterial environment, which leads to adverse health effects. And a lot of people in the clinic ask me, should I take the probiotics that I'm taking, should I take it with the antibiotics, should I take it on its own, when do I take each one? I found a lovely study here that basically says, take them together. It's important that we take it together, and don't worry about, don't get too hung up on taking in the morning or the evening. I often have these questions in clinic. Just take it together. And this really interesting study I found explaining that, they basically took 40 subjects and they administered them with, I found the amoxicillin and the clavulanic acid study, and then they gave them probiotics as well, so directly linked with what you're taking with a PCD. And the results showed that the antibiotics did as expected. They induced an alteration in the gut's microbiome, so they changed it, which is what it's expected to do because it's killing by nature. But they showed that the disturbances were minimized in the people that were taking the probiotics, and that the probiotic group had a more rapid re-establishment of the baseline microbiome. So it means that even if it's going to disrupt it, it's going to help it to get back to normal just by taking the probiotics. And they did this using, I'm going to talk about the names of probiotics as well, because probiotics all have a name and a number. So when you're buying your probiotics, please make sure there's numbers written behind the strains, because that's really important. When you're checking on your boxes when you're buying probiotics. So they used Acidophilus and Paracassia and another probiotic called Lactis. They didn't know how this happened. They haven't investigated the kind of biochemistry pathways of how the probiotics worked. All they're saying at this stage is it did work, and it worked very well in conjunction with the probiotics. So I've then put SAP-B on the slide. Saccharomyces boulardii is not a true probiotic because it's actually a yeast. But there's a lot of good links with taking Saccharomyces boulardii when you're taking antibiotics as well, because the antibiotics can't touch it, and it's a friendly or good yeast to take. So some other ideas of good probiotic to take: mixing some SAP-B with your regular probiotic you're taking. Now this, I know you can't see it, but I've got a book here on. I just thought I'd share with you that probiotics, we can delve into that for many, many hours, because in this book is basically all the strains, how they work, what they affect in the body. So the probiotic study on its own is a whole study in itself. So this was, I was trying to put that up to show you that there's loads of probiotics used for different things. But I was going to focus on knowing this is linked with PCD quite often is respiratory tract infections and middle ear infections, or its medical name, the acute otitis media infections. Just I thought those would come up quite often with people with PCD. So I found a study which, well actually it's not a study, they took 10 clinical trials and they broke it down with the summary of it, and they used 3,451 infants, children and adults, and they showed that probiotics were more beneficial than people not taking probiotics for infection prevention. And they had reduced rates. I thought this was very good. Even if we can't get rid of the respiratory tract infections, they had reduced rates of respiratory tract infections, and also the durations were a lot shorter. So if we can't you know, if we have to deal with what the PCD is bringing up, at least there's a way we can make it that it's not lasting as long and it's not as severe. In this study, in this clinical trials I found, they used Lactobacillus rhamnosus, lots of big words today, sorry. And also I found a double-blind, placebo-controlled, randomized, and in English that just means it's the gold star of clinical trials in the medical world. So they found that Lactobacillus reuteri was very beneficial in infants 4 to 10 months. And they did the study in Israel, and the children had a lot less episodes of diarrhea and fever as well. So just some information for your little notes, you know, so that you become aware when you go and buy probiotics, you become aware of which strains are more helpful for PCD. I also found a systematic review which also showed that it reduced the incidence of otitis media and respiratory tract infections using Lactobacillus rhamnosus. Another one, and then I'm finished with the studies, is with Salivarius. They did a study in Spain, and they showed that even though antibiotics, and this is good because even though the antibiotics still plays a relevant role, we need it with PCD at the moment where we are with the research we have, the probiotic had a preventative role, significantly reducing the number of episodes and the amount of antibiotic doses that they needed to take. So if we could just keep it down, keep the frequency down, I think that would be very helpful. So I say to all my patients in the clinic, they ask me, which is the best probiotic, which one should I take, how many should I take? You know, everyone gets very technical about it. And I say to them, just take one with as many strains that you can find, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit further on. Get one with a variety of strains and change it up every month when you finish. Sorry. When you finish your one round of probiotics, go and choose another brand, try different ones, so don't keep it the same all the time, change it up and use ones with a wide variety of probiotics in it. Is everybody still awake?
Angela, sorry, just
Yes.
for timekeeping.
Yes.
We've got 7 minutes, and 5 minutes for Q&A.
Okay, right, I'm going to whisk through this. Right, so I've chosen a few vitamins to discuss with you because there's some vitamins that I want to talk about here that are forgotten and we don't realize how important they are in supporting the immune system. So vitamin A plays a role with infection. It supports the immune system. I know I've got the normal things that it does, but added to that, let me just get some interesting studies on what vitamin A does. So some important points on it which relates to PCD. Vitamin A plays an important role in the helping the mucous membranes, and including those in the lungs, because it helps resisting the invasion of microorganisms. So I thought that would be very helpful. There's a whole lot of other things it does. I'm not going to go into too much detail on it, but basically vitamin A is really good in the case of PCD. It's also helpful in urinary tract infections. It restores the levels and helps the immune system to fight back. Also, vitamin A has been found to be anti-inflammatory in its effect, which is another point to discuss with PCD. We want to keep the inflammation down, and it does this through modulating the white blood cells, which are called the lymphocytes. So vitamin A is a really good one to keep in mind. Sources for your vitamin A is your orange and yellow vegetables, your beta-carotenes, which is in your broccoli, spinach, your carrots, and again, dark green leafy veg, and also found in cod liver oil. So the forgotten vitamin, I always call vitamin C the forgotten vitamin. Nobody talks about it anymore, and it's pretty amazing. It's a water-soluble vitamin, meaning that if you take too much of it, you're just going to, weed out. It's come out in the urine, so you can't overdose on it. And we know that oranges contain vitamin C, but interestingly enough, there's some other fruits that are really high in vitamin C for their size. So try some kiwi, guava, papaya, and maybe some lychees. So vitamin C was found very helpful in bronchitis. With another double-blind study I found, it improved. Vitamin C improved to a significantly greater extent than those who were just given the placebo, not the vitamin C. And as we know, the normal, it's used for common colds and sore throats, but I think often we forget about the lowly vitamin C. It's an old school vitamin that people don't even talk about anymore. It helps prevent viral infections, besides the fact that it helps with a common cold. So it's got, it helps with viral infections as well. Vitamin C helps with stress, and I found that great because half the time we're worried about our microbiome, but the microbiome gets greatly affected by stress and by noise actually. So get some vitamin C in, because vitamin C is going to help with the stress levels as well. Okay, vitamin D, which is the big talk at the moment. We could talk about this for half an hour, but the short version. It's a fat-soluble vitamin, and especially when you live in places like the UK and Scotland, we're not getting enough sun, and it's a big one. I send a lot of my patients in the clinic to have their vitamin D checked by the doctors, often with resistance. I'm finding more and more they don't want to test for it. They just say, you will be short, you will be depleted, so take it. The problem is with vitamin D, it's fat-soluble, so we need to know the level in order to do the correct therapeutic dosing of it. So find out your level and maybe speak to your practitioner and they will dose you accordingly. But you can get these fancy apps now that tell you when to go out in the sun and how many minutes to go out and at a time. So just to give you if you go out into the sun for 10 to 15 minutes, you're getting 10,000, the measurement is IU of vitamin D. And if we go to our doctors, they usually give us 800 IU supplementation to take, and it's really not enough to get the vitamin D levels up in the body. So vitamin D is really, really paramount to make sure our levels are right. It's very hard to get vitamin D from your food. As I said there, we can get it from wild salmon, herring and eggs. Our plant sources are mushrooms, but it's really difficult. It is unfortunately one of those we have to supplement with. So get your vitamin D checked. It's really, really vital for the immune system, for bone health, and it helps to keep the calcium in the bones. So get that checked out because it's really important. And the last one is zinc. Zinc's involved in about 300 enzymes in the body. It's also vital to make sure our zinc levels are good, in a good level. It maintains fertility, growth in children, it preserves our vision, boosts our immunity and protects us from free radicals. So I say free radicals are like the hooded guys that come in and steal and cause chaos in the body. So we need the antioxidants and the phytonutrients to basically fight against the free radicals or the hooded guys that are going to cause problems in the body. So, what are phytonutrients and antioxidants? Anyone know? It's big long words today. So, antioxidants, they're chemical substances that are found naturally in foods. So, for example, vitamin A that we spoke about, vitamin C, vitamin E, and selenium are all antioxidants. Phytochemicals you find in plants. So all plants have phytochemicals, and plants have things like big words called carotenoids, flavonoids, and isoflavones that are in all our vegetables and our fruit. So try and get in. I'm not vegetarian, but I say to people, try and get in as much vegetables as you can in your plate today, and always go for the berries, because the berries are going to give you the antioxidants that you need. You know, blueberries, raspberries, strawberries, really load them in your diet. Antioxidants protect the body cells and tissues from the free radicals. Free radicals can damage our cells, and antioxidants are thought to help protect cells by removing free radicals before they cause damage. So you're going to love this. Some antioxidant foods are dark chocolate. So don't go mad, but it has got very high antioxidants, so there's some benefit of having chocolate. And as I said, blueberries, strawberries, things like kale and artichokes are antioxidant-rich foods. So really try and increase those in your diet. I'm going to leave you to look at NAC. I've got some studies that I found on NAC. It's a thing called N-acetylcysteine. And there's a study that I found that is very helpful in cystic fibrosis. I know it's different to PCD, but it's very helpful in cystic fibrosis with mucus and helps to clear the mucus from the body. So I'm always very into that the individuals are important and not two of us are the same. So give it a try, even though I know the studies I found are not for PCD. It's an amino acid called N-acetylcysteine, and it's really, really fantastic for a whole array of things. So I'll leave that with you to check it out. There's a big controversy with milk. Everyone will say, but milk, I need calcium, I need to have milk, blah, blah, blah. So I tend to say to people, when you're trying to clear mucus out of the body, try and stay off dairy. You know, cut out the milk, the cheese, even bread. They're mucus-forming foods. And Katie and I had a discussion about this, and I said, yeah, when you are blessed by God and you live on a farm, and you can have raw milk from the cow, you know what you're doing it right. But when you go to Asda and it's filled with hormones and preservatives and that kind of thing, you're definitely not getting the same benefit out of it. So, you know, take it in context when you're having your dairy products. And I would say, cut down on the dairy for mucus. It definitely does affect the mucus, the formation of mucus in the body. Importantly, lifestyle recommendations. You know, I've spoken about food, but what about life? And I know it's difficult when you've got children and you're trying to, juggle all kinds of things during the day. But to help the gut and the gut microbiome, we need relaxation, we need peace and calm, we need some exercise, restorative sleep, and natural cleaning and personal hygiene products. Get rid of all the chemicals in the house. It affects the microbiome. And I suggested maybe there's a lovely range of CDs for children called Relax Kids. If you want to do a little bit of meditation with your children or for yourself in the evening before bed. Perhaps put in some Epsom salts in your bath. Jump in the bath with the children, because the Epsom salt has got magnesium. It's going to help you relax, it's going to help the nervous system, and it might just help you get restorative sleep, because the body needs to heal at night while you're sleeping. And I'm not going to talk about herbs, I've run out of time. A whole lot of things to tell you about herbs. But one thing I was going to say, if you want to check out, Napier's do a very nice mullein oil, and it's very good for inner ear infections. Just check out the mullein oil. I thought that would be very helpful for you. And also, I know you use the washes, and I was going to suggest maybe to add in some black walnut tincture. It's been used quite, there's a couple of studies I've got there, and a gentleman called Boona, he's the guru in herbal medicine. He uses black walnut tincture inside the washes for the nasal passages. It really clears out. I've seen some crazy things coming out with patient sinuses using black walnut tincture. So you could mix it in with the saline solution that you use. So just a few suggestions, give it a try. Okay, I'm done.
Thank you.
Right, sorry so much. So, just to ask anything more that you wanted to know that I didn't cover?
That's the wrong question.
Yes.
The milk, and if you can avoid the milk, does that include plant-based milks or these alternative? Like
No, plant-based milks
dairy,
are
it's just like as a
just dairy, as in,
form of
yes. And it's, I mean, everyone's completely obsessed with calcium, but you know what, you eat lots of calcium out of your vegetables. So So please don't worry if you're not having milk that your calcium levels are depleting. Anyone else?
Just a question from Reese.
Yes.
That was really interesting, Angela.
Thank
I've got a daughter who's got PCD,
Yes.
so I'll definitely encourage her to eat more broccoli. Do you have like a website that we can go
Yes,
to?
if you take one of my cards, my website is Essence of the Soul. That's my website. There's a few leaflets I've left for you there because I just have quite a broad range of modalities that I offer. And there's some cards there if anyone wants my number, or email me if you've got any questions. And I'm happy to share any of the studies.
I'll put it on social media.
Okay, great. Well, hope you found that helpful and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Thank you.